Hey, hello, howdy, how you doing? Welcome to the second official season of PZ Cribz, an ongoing series where players from both of our Zomboid servers submit their base designs to be shown off to the community. If you're new to this series, I highly recommend going back to watch Season 1. I've got a video up on my main channel that put all of Season 1 into a nice compact video for you, which you can find either in the top right of your screen or down in the description. With that, let's get into today's entries. Lake Ivy has been a hotspot for base designs going back almost a full year's worth of wipes, and it's not changing now. Fort Harmony, built by PZ, and Kos, sits in the southwest of Lake Ivy on the foundations of one of the mansions, but don't let that fool you. They've gutted the entire mansion and added some large-scale expansions onto the property. Allow me to show ya. Just north of the mansion, you can find a fully paved parking lot loaded with vehicles the duo had collected over the wipe. They even got Larry the Cable Guy to make a cameo. Inside the fencing, they've got a little driveway with their favorite cars parked inside for safekeeping. They've also taken the liberty to add some statues and flower beds around the perimeter, which is always a nice touch. As soon as you walk inside, you'll be greeted with a small bar and lounge area. I say small because they've got another one I'll show off at the end, but this is the in-home bar. To the right is the kitchen and brewing station. They've got a popcorn machine, another celebrity appearance with Toaster from the world's greatest movie, The Brave Little Toaster. On the other end of the floor, you'll find a small skilling area, which has every skill book, magazine, and VHS tape in the game. This is pretty common in most of the completed bases, but it's also incredibly important, since these can effectively give you every recipe in the game, along with a good 20 to 30 skill levels in less than an hour, making it a borderline necessity for whenever your character decides to fall through the escalators in the mall. Heading upstairs, you'll find the duo's gaming room holding their most prized possession, a Tony Hawk Pro Skater poster. Just legendary. Moving through the gaming room, you'll enter Kos's room. My favorite part of this room was the mounted skateboards they've got slapped on the walls. I've never seen that decor before, so I thought that was worth mentioning. The third floor is more of a guard tower than anything, but I still thought that was really cool since I don't think I've ever seen someone put a guard tower in their base before. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen players add guard towers around their base or entirely separate from their base, but this is the first one I've seen that's baked into the home. The last room in this building belongs to PZ. They've got a plethora of items ranging from rubber duckies, to rifles, to skateboards, and even a little bodyguard cuddle buddy Mr. Slave, who just stands menacingly in the corner. In the backyard, you'll find the green room. It's entirely built and glassed from scratch using the building menu mod, which, if you don't know, crafting glass takes forever. Like I said earlier, all of the walkways and parking lots are hand-paved. Taking this one leads you to the side of the mansion where the duo keep their metalworking station, along with anything you need for general crafting. Remember when we first entered the house and I was saying how there was another bar? Well, welcome to the bar and gun store / shooting range, because if life has taught us anything, it's that whiskey and firearms are the perfect combo. Not only do they have a fully fleshed out bar, but they've also got a second floor that reminded me a ton of the bars in Red Dead Redemption. It's also worth noting that the jukebox on the first level actually works, thanks to the Lifestyle Hobbies mod, so you can actually play a ton of real songs on it. Next to the bar is the gun store, where you can find anything from shotguns to LMGs to crossbows. Just behind the display cases is the firing range, where you can test out any of the weapons on display before purchase. Overall, this was one of my favorite bases of the entire wipe. Almost everything in here was built from scratch by the duo, including all of the fencing around the perimeter and mansion. This next showcase is a little unconventional. Typically, you'll have either a solo or group claim a safe zone plot, and then they'll build out from there. But in this instance, we have 8 smaller stash houses hidden throughout the map. None of them are claimed, so anyone can access them if they're able to find the entrances. These were created by one of the longest tenured players on the public server, Susceptive, who also holds the longest days survived record on the server at almost 400 days, along with the highest kill record on the server at almost 120,000 zombies with a single life on one wipe. I'm getting sidetracked though. Today, we'll be looking at 2 of his largest stash houses, the first of which is located at the Perfect Potato Company building in Louisville. At first glance, it's just another single-story warehouse. That is, however, until you head to the northwest corner, where you'll find a hidden ladder taking you to the second floor. Again, this doesn't exist normally. Everything you see here has been built on top of the original roofing tiles. This first house includes a lounge with a fully stocked library and VHS setup. The bookshelves in the corner also contain every skill book in the game. Just beneath that, you'll find a fully stocked bar which can be used to cure unhappiness and add some weight to your characters. We've also got a small armory stashed in a side room up here, with his higher quality weapons hidden behind prison doors that, well, you need a key to access. This is one of my favorite pieces of the stash house. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a fully functional interior greenhouse. So not only can you live in complete safety on the second floor of a warehouse, but you can skill up, booze up, and harvest farm fresh vegetables before heading back on your way. This place really does have everything though. If you prefer a low fitness, low strength build for those extra trait points, Sus added an in-home gym complete with dumbbells and a working treadmill for you. You can tell he was having fun with these because he also took the time to include some bonus rooms like a little daycare room for kids, a music room to listen to some CDs and play the guitar, and even a men's and women's bathroom, all custom tiled and plumbed for your convenience. The second stash house is located in Fort Rock Ridge in one of the larger warehouses. Again, everything is seemingly normal until you jump off the second floor balcony, landing on a hidden tile, which then reveals a sheetrope ladder to the third floor stash room. Much like the first stash house, this one's got a ton of general supplies for any player lucky enough to find it. There's an armory here with gear to make your own ammo with, a kitchen with $9,000 cash for you to purchase any gear you want at the vending machines, another lounge area with VHS tapes, skill books, and recipe magazines, another gym if you want to grind your fitness and strength skills, and a bar area, as always. Now there are 6 other stash houses like these two all spread throughout the map, but for the sake of the video, Sus wanted these two specifically shown off. He encourages players to look for them, and I can see why, because these are incredible. The best part is they could be hidden in any building. He just chose 2 of the more popular foot-trafficked areas and set up his 2 largest stashes there. So you could just be looting a warehouse and then suddenly you're in a stash room full of everything you could possibly want. I've been running servers for around 3 years now, and he's the only player I've ever met who does stuff like this regularly. Up next, we're gonna pop over to the members server for a few, starting with Upgradde's compound. There's 3 other members living here, but Upgradde was the one giving me the tour, so he gets the title. Starting with the house. The living room is more of a quick lounge area with an antique oven and a few bookshelves with recipe mags and skill books. Just off the main room, you'll enter the kitchen. It may be hard to recognize, but the table is completely covered in board games and a D&D setup. While the D&D setup is a prop, all of the board games you're seeing are entirely playable thanks to the Game Night mod by Chuckleberry Finn. On the other side of the house, they've got their med bay loaded with anything you could possibly need. There's a connecting door off of the med bay that takes you into their fully stocked and functioning brewery. These are always the highlights for me because breweries take a ton of time to set up and actually craft, so to see fully functional rooms like this is always super cool. Upstairs you can find the bedrooms. They've also got a working treadmill and a walk-in closet with some tailoring supplies. The last piece on the second floor is the patio/deck area. You can see the entire property from it, and it's even got a charcoal grill for cookouts. The workshop resides in the northeast portion of their land plot, and it's jam-packed with literally anything you could possibly need for any occasion. In between all the buildings, they've got their parking lot that's loaded with trailers and military vehicles for looting runs, with Optimus Prime making a small cameo in the southeast. If you're wondering where they keep their personal vehicles, well, look no further than the massive garage in the south. Inside, they've got a few solid ones like the Falcon and the Wrangler, as well as a battle bus because every group needs their own battle bus. Moving on to the second floor of the garage, there's a massive bar area encased in glass windows for you to hang out at. After you're nice and boozed up, why not head into the next room where you'll find their entire firearms collection, along with thousands of boxes of ammo. If that still wasn't enough for you, maybe you'd like to take a swing at a Zamorak Godsword. They've got 3 of them. Staying with the member server for a moment, we're gonna pop over to one of the OGs of the server, Rip Bozo's base. As is commonplace for most bases, they've designated the parking lot out front for their cars and trailers. I'm not entirely certain, but I do think the courtyard here was tiled by hand, which I'm sure took a ton of time to work through. In the southwest corner, you'll find the main guard post overlooking the front gate to the base. It's got a loaded M249 machine gun and a radio to relay updates back to the main house. There's also a fenced-in walkway that leads onto the roof of the tower for some extra exposure. Bozo also went ahead and transformed the garage into a workshop for any crafting or repair needs, including mechanics and metalworking. Out behind the garage, he's got a secret stash of around 8 Humvees and a military transport truck, all ready for use at a moment's notice. I don't know what it is with this past wipe, but it feels like everyone's been really into making shooting ranges. It's not a bad thing at all, but it just feels like there's been more shooting ranges in these submissions for this episode alone than all of last season combined. For Bozo's firing range, he actually just used the barn that was already on the map. He then sledged out the back walls, added in 2 open garage door frames, and built out lanes with targets at the end, the targets of course being the corpses of other players. He also threw down some tables to rest the guns on as a display. The barn portion of the firing range also serves as the base's armory, which I think might be another first for an outdoor armory setup. Something happened here. You may also notice the grass burned down around the building. Bozo simply referred to it as the RPG incident, so you can use your imagination as to what happened. Alrighty, on to the interior. The ground floor is reserved for a lounge area and kitchen, which is decorated with various items and supplies, along with some cowboy killers and a set dinner table. He's got a nice setup with a couch and a TV on the floor, which is really just the ideal setup for anyone. Just on the other side of the wall is another garage with 2 more cars and some more storage. There's also a rogue popcorn machine in the corner, because everyone knows popcorn tastes better when it's covered in motor oil. Up on the second floor, you'll find an infirmary with emergency med bags ready to go. He's also got an equipment room with things like authentic outfits and a fucking minigun, along with a window to shoot out of it if any zombies breach the perimeter. Right next to that is a second armory. He's got a few weapon lockers along with the wall mount pieces with more guns spread out on top of the lockers and on the tables. The last room on the second floor is Bozo's bedroom. It's got a little bit of everything in it, from the treadmill, the TV, the hooker and bunny ears, really everything you'd ever need. Back to the public server, we've got the West Point Tower, also known as a random person's base. The entire structure is built on top of the mechanic shop just outside of West Point. From my understanding, it was used as a trading hub by players early on in the wipe for things like vehicle repairs and necessities related to that, which is pretty cool. The ground floor is open. They've turned the entire storeroom into a chop shop where players can pull in, order what they need to at the register, park their cars here, and then head on into West Point for a bit while the mechanic fixes up their cars. In the back room, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of bottles of booze because everyone knows it's no fun working on cars sober. They've got a pretty sizable storage area as well for any looting run needs or spare parts. In the actual garage portion, you'll find something like 50 industrial propane tanks, along with a semi, a military truck, and the trader's personal car. Up on the second floor, you can find a small living room area with VHS tapes, along with a secondary storage and a massive supply of gold bars, because why the hell not? The third floor is more of an open concept. Right in the opening, you'll find a DJ booth and a patio for lounging. The southern cased-in portion is reserved for the garden, though nothing is growing right now because it's February and 28 degrees outside. Next to that is the comms room, overlooking the parking lot of the tower, and directly above the comms room is the forge area. Everything you're seeing in the forge area is made from the real metalworking mod by Spoon. What I consider to be the coolest portion of the base is in the western wing. They've managed to collect dozens of arcade and pinball machines and have built their own little arcade, with each machine organized by type and color. There's even an air hockey table here. It's basically the zomboid version of Dave & Buster's. Up on the fourth floor, a random person built out a safe room. It's got a bedroom with all the necessities, a fully stocked library to pass the time, and an absolutely massive armory for all of your gun-toting needs. Behind the armory is something rather unique though. I don't think I've ever seen a fully functional crematorium in anyone's builds before. He's even got the little locker things you stuff the bodies into. Along with that, they've taken an RP approach and wrote out testing logs for their subjects, which is really cool to see. Alright, these final two bases are by far the largest of this episode, so I wanted to put them at the end since they're gonna take the most time to show off. The first one is the PZ Cribz base over on the members server. They're by far the largest faction and spent the entire wipe over in Raven Creek. About half of the faction greeted me at the entrance with some lays and a few beers, which always gets them some bonus points. One of my favorite things about the base is, you notice all the shit along the perimeter? Yeah, that's all taken from Blackwood. Like, all of it. Like, they made dozens of runs to gather all the junk to stack outside of their walls, which are all custom built. The first thing you're greeted with inside is the massive car collection. Don't worry, there's more on the other side, but these are their base cars. There's a garage here that leads into the general storage and warehouse interior. It's worth mentioning here that they've left the entire layout of the warehouse basically untouched, but have gone ahead and completely gutted the interior. Down the hallway, you'll find some of the bedrooms. When it comes to these faction bases, the rooms are always a nice look into the personality of that specific member. In this instance, you've got Ducky and Banana's room, which is all decked out in clothes and plushies and their notorious inner tubes. You've also got Soulbit's room, which is occupied by Soul and Saint B, both, taking a smoke break. There's also a dead body under the bed with a dog chew toy. So, moving on. Next up is our tour guide's room, covered in flamingos, a homeless man's property, and some RuneScape weapons on the bed, because the grind never stops. Just past the bedrooms, you'll enter Saint B's armory. It's got everything. ARs, LMGs, miniguns, grenade launchers, abyssal whips. If you can think of it, it's here. Just below the masculine armory, you can find the Gay Crates 2. If you're wondering what happened to the Gay Crates 1, well, we used a build mod, and it bricked last wipe and fully deleted all of the crates, which I think you could classify as a hate crime if you wanted to. Anyway, after you climb the rope to the second floor, you're greeted with Ducky and Banana's med bay. Naturally, it comes with everything you'd ever want or need for medical injuries, since, you know, it's a med bay. In the opposite corner, you'll find a fully set up kitchen as well. This faction has been around for almost 2 years now, at least in some capacity on the members server. Whether it's with different names, but the CCC clan in particular has been around for I'd say at least the last 6 months. And I can't remember a build they've done where they haven't gone all out like this. The small little intricate details they add to each room always blow me away because some of the props are incredibly hard to find or only exist in a one-of-one loot pool, so there's only one of that item on the entire map. Moving back into the eastern portion of the building, this is their big recreation room. If your eyes went straight to the phallic-shaped objects on the floor, those have been created using Pokemon cards, courtesy of the Pokemon Trading Cards mod by Duchess. It adds hundreds of Pokemon cards into the game for you to collect, and yes, there are holographic ones. Anyway, you've got some flowers, statues, skateboards in the corner, a shop vac just in case, but overall a very well-designed room. The rooftop has been fully fenced in so you can't accidentally kiss the pavement, but it's also where their garden is. They've also got a nice statue of a toilet up here, so you never forget what you're fighting for. Directly above the grilling station, you can find a small green room that Spooky Ghost built out for Barunka. If you're unaware, Bee has been around the community for about 3 years now, really since the beginning, and she's a huge nerd for plants. You should ask her about it sometime in the Discord. Beneath the greenhouse, you can find a beautiful home gym fully stocked with dumbbells, barbells, treadmills, and a water cooler filled with vodka to rehydrate at. Directly across from that, you'll find the faction's music room. With the Lifestyle Hobbies mod, all of these instruments are playable, and yes, don't worry, you can play Country Roads. Funny story, it actually got me demonetized on a stream a while back, so this is your warning. The last room over here is reserved for Mort. It's clearly the most well-decorated of the entire faction. I don't really even think it's close. Heading out into the main parking lot, there's a few backpacks courtesy of Buki's Packer Bag mod, which adds a ton of Packer Bag re-textures, so here's a few to show off. Outside of that, you can find another set of cars. These all belong to Barunka, Ducky, and Banana, if you couldn't tell by the colors matching their rooms. It's worth mentioning here that all of this pavement was hand-placed by the faction, along with the lines you see for the parking spots. Those are all hand-painted as well. Heading into the second building, this is their massive workshop. They've got some beautiful cars in here, along with shelves upon shelves of crafting supplies. If you're wondering to yourself, what's better than sweet muscle cars? Well, how about an entire strip club on the second floor of an auto shop? May have had a few too many, but anyway, they even got a private room built out if you want a VIP experience. Before we wrap up, I wanted to showcase the giant wall around the facility because it was entirely built from scratch, and not just the wall, but they've also tacked on a massive catwalk that allows them to patrol the entire perimeter, as well as take in some of the views the base provides. Last but not least, they have their little calling card clan tag CCC painted on the rooftop, which is something they've always done, I think in every wipe since we started the member server, but I always think that's really cool for the faction. Last but, and I cannot stress this enough, most certainly not least, we have the town. Built by a plethora of players in the community, but most notably Mark, Pengo, Yeti, and Squanchy, who've been given the custom role of highwaymen. You'll see at the end, but they've done most of the builds here. Now, because the town is just so unbelievably massive, I honestly think it might be the largest community-built city we've ever had on the server. Maybe Little Venice might have been bigger, but I think this might take the cake. But because of that, I'm not going to go overly in-depth with every build, because if I did, this base would take around 45 minutes to go through. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. This took over an hour to just record the tour. For reference, I try to keep these around 10 to 15 minutes per showcase. So now that you have that information, allow me to show you the entrance to the town. A fucking castle. That's how it starts. Don't worry, it's also fully decorated. It's not just a shell. Oh, and it's got a hidden trap room in it as a way to navigate the base. Deep in the dungeons of the castle, you can find a few prisoners caged up and ready to be abused. There's also just a random room upstairs of a dead miner, directly below a picture of Dr. Disrespect, which made me spit out my coffee when I first saw it. Along with that, they've got a massive bar on the second floor that's fully stocked and ready for use, courtesy of the bartender. Just to the east, there's a smaller black castle containing some vehicle storage as well, but like I said, if I show everything, this video is going to be massive. Moving into the town itself here, we'll start with the burger shop. While waiting for your burgers, why not lease the empty storefront here and start your own business? Hate your neighbors? Well, head over to the gun store and purchase a new piece of freedom. Down the road a ways, they've got a small concessions drive-thru where we stop to order some food.
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large, a number 6 with extra dip.
After receiving our order, we hit up a clothing shop next to the laundromat. Oh, I should probably mention real quick, this was all built over the river, and obviously all built by hand. You don't want to know how many resources this took. Anyway, we stopped at another fully decorated, fully stocked bar before heading back out to take a look at the town's motel. To the southwest, you'll find Lecrate's base. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but he's got a full base down here, but I'm going to include it as part of the town, since it's literally within the confines of the town. The ground floor is set aside as a vehicle showroom for their emergency service cars. They've got a don't open dead inside door that you can go through to access the medbay, which I thought was a really nice touch. Now there were a few other builds here, but I'm going to skip them because they were incomplete and move on to the team warehouse. It's entirely organized and contains everything necessary for this absolutely fucking massive build. You can even head upstairs and find a ton of colored crates that stand out. Well, those colored crates are actually paint crates, all organized by color. The entire warehouse is fucking dope, and they used all these unique builds from all these different tile packs to flesh it out more instead of just using military crates like everyone else tends to do. So I wanted to make a point to show that off. To the far east, you'll find Yeti's house. He's got a ton of cars and a fairly large garage, and inside he's taken more of a cabin approach. The catch? Well, the best way to traverse the house is through the damn chimney. He's got sheet rope ladders and regular ladders that take you all the way up to the roof, which is hilarious and the first time I've ever seen something like this since starting PZ Cribz over a year ago. Sez's house is just north of Yeti's. This one's more of a modern approach and comes with 2 garage loot rooms. There's also a semi over here that's completely loaded with enough weapons and ammo to clear all of Knox County and still have some left over. Inside the house, you'll find some more general storage, along with a nice little kitchen setup with a built-in island. The big takeaway for me was the 1,100 boxes of shotgun shells they've got just sitting in some crates in a bedroom. Moving on, there's a communal garden, but all the plants are dead since it's January and 24 degrees outside. Next to that farm, however, is Cab's house. It's, by their own definition, just a normal house, but still really cool when you consider the fact that it looks like a pre-built house, but was actually handcrafted. There's a few more shops down the road here, such as another Twiggy's bar, a library, and a multi-floor mini-mart, all shared with another large-scale parking lot, which was, once again, hand-paved. I've got 2 things left to show here, but I'm gonna start with the more appealing one. They've got a fucking racetrack built out here, and it actually gets some use, too. Pretty sweet, right? This next part is only a portion of it, but the builders of the town also spent weeks building out a series of hidden roads across the river, all leading to large-scale POIs on the map. For example, the one we're on right now is a path directly to Fort Rock Ridge, one of the best loot regions for weapons and ammo. There's another large-scale one that leads into the heart of Louisville, but this is the one they wanted to showcase, so it's in the video. But that's gonna do it, guys. Let me know which base you like the most and we'll reward the builders. If you're interested in joining the servers, we just set our public server for an Iron Man wipe that kicked off on July 14th, and the member server should be wiping within the next week or so. Both can be joined via our Discord with a link down in the description. With that, I'm gonna get out of here. Until next time, I appreciate you all, stay safe, and thanks for stopping by.